Drake C. Toll, Locked on Big 12. Let's also talk for just a moment about a tweet that I saw that was pretty interesting. Just thoughts on the Power Two, right, as they'd like to affectionately be referred to. The SEC and the Big Ten certainly seeming like they control a lot of the dominoes in what happens. Do you think an ACC Big 12 merger makes sense at this point to try and claw back some power?
If the ACC and the Big 12 were to merger, it would help one conference and one conference only, and that's the ACC. If either of these leagues is staring death in the eyes, similar to what the Pac-12 was dealing with, it's the ACC. Reason being, none of the Big 12 teams want to leave. Everyone is happy right now. You could argue the Big 12 is not as top-heavy as the ACC, and I would agree with you. We don't have a Florida State. We don't have a Clemson. We don't even really have a Miami right now, though Miami hasn't been exactly at the top of college football in 2 decades. That being said, the ACC doesn't really have a Florida State or a Clemson, maybe not a Miami or North Carolina, as those schools vie to leave the league, as they sue to leave the league, as they get their way, and the ACC says, fine, compromise. You have to stay until 2030. By then, it's cheap enough. There's the door. You can exit if you want to. They've effectively built an exit plan for the best programs in their conference. If you told me tomorrow, BYU, Utah, Oklahoma State, and Kansas are all leaving the Big 12 in 4 years, I would say, please merge now. We need the ACC. Instead, it's the other way around. The Atlantic Coast Conference, they are the ones going into desperation mode. They're the ones pressing the red button. If the Big 12 was to merge with them, it would be a life raft. Instead, what Brett Yormark needs to do is just go pick what he wants and say to Louisville, hey, Louisville, hey, NC State, hey, Georgia Tech, hey, Duke, hey, Miami, whoever might be there and be available, say, look, you can either die on the sinking ship, Washington State, Oregon State style, or you can come thrive in the Big 12 where there are plenty of programs that are on the exact same level as you, and you can make $35+ million a year. We renegotiate our contract in 2030, 2031 with ESPN. You make $40 million per year. We get you closer to where Florida State and Clemson are as they exit the Big 10 or the SEC. We get you there. A merger, I can't see, TJ.
I'll get right back to chatting with Drake, but if you are feeling tired, sluggish, or just a little bit off, low T could be the culprit. My friends over at Emerald Medical are here to help you reclaim your energy with hormone replacement therapy. You can use our code right now, CFA, for not only a free consultation, but to save money on your journey to feeling like the real you again. My buddy Chris owns Emerald Medical. He's a huge college football fan, just like you are, and they will offer personalized care that you can trust. You can call them at 772-307-9840. You can do it all virtually, do it through telehealth, or go to emeraldhrt.com. Use our code CFA to schedule your free consultation and get back to feeling like the real you.
Brett Yormark being in the same room with Jim Phillips and that going well. One is a professional businessman who's done nothing but make the correct decisions, and even when he makes the wrong decision, a la Big 12 in Mexico, he says, you know what? My bad. Punt. It's canceled. It's done. You're fired. I'm a businessman. The other guy is losing his top programs, rolling over and doing so, bringing on SMU as a charity case, and signing Stanford and Cal as if that's going to save your conference. Instead, it's only created more turmoil. And where the ACC sits right now, it would be the Big 12 doing that conference a massive favor to merge. If you're Jim Phillips and company, if you're a fan of Wake Forest, you want that. If you're the Big 12, it may be your worst nightmare.
I agree with that. Like if you locked Florida State and Clemson in until like 2040, for example, then I think there's some validity to
For sure.
the idea of it. But getting Florida State and Clemson for what? 3 more years, right? If they leave right at 2030, if they leave any earlier, it's less, but the merger is not going to happen this year, right? And probably not next year. It's probably like going to take a year to be in the works and things like that. So getting a Florida State and Clemson, North Carolina, Virginia, where does Miami land? We've talked about that a lot. Can the Big 12 pull them? Do they get a top 2 invite? We'll see. It doesn't. Now, again, if all that wasn't happening, and you didn't have those other teams trying to get out, Florida State's not going to be happy in a merger situation. Clemson's not going to be happy in a merger situation. So they're not staying longer for that, I wouldn't think, right? I guess crazier things have happened. But I'll agree with that. Like, I think that very much benefits the Boston Colleges of the world, the Wake Forests of the world. Whereas the Big 12 needs to be more in hunting mode, in my opinion. When Florida State and Clemson, North Carolina, whoever breaks the dam open, that's when I think you can cherry pick some of the teams we've talked about. The Virginia Techs, the NC States, the Georgia Techs, possibly the Miamis, the Louisville, the Pittsburghs, the teams that actually, the programs that actually do care about athletics. And I don't want to say Wake Forest doesn't care about athletics. And, I'm not trying to, berate Boston College here or Syracuse or some of these schools, the Stanfords and Cals, right? They certainly care about rowing and stuff in some of these places. But I don't know that that's where you're sending the lifeboat, right? I don't know that makes a ton of sense. I mean, you hear about some of these teams the ACC may add, right? Florida State, Clemson, and others leave. It might go after a Tulane, might go after a Memphis, might go after a USF. I think, this is going to get me in trouble. The Big 12 has kind of already done that in some situations. Now, I'm not saying the Cincinnati or UCF or other additions didn't make sense.
Sure.
But I think they've already kind of gotten their group of 5 teams and given out their life rafts to the teams that they're ready to do that. I don't know that it makes a lot of sense for them to give out a bunch of more, right? Wake Forest is a Power 4 team. I get it. But they're closer to a group of 5 team than they are a Power 2 team. And we could admit that, right? Yes. And so are you giving out your life rafts to the SMUs of the world? Now, SMU goes on some kind of a run or something in 5 years, 2030. Maybe that's a different conversation with the money there in Texas. But are you giving out? I think the Big 12 is almost giving out enough life rafts, right? Again, not trying to berate the UCF fans or the Cincinnati fans, but that's my thought there.
I mean, I'm the locked on Big 12 guy, right? I'm supposed to support all 16. They're my children. We might look up in 10 years. We certainly, there's a better chance we won't, but we could look up in 12 years, 10 years, 15 years and say, oof, Maryland to the Big 10, Rutgers to the Big 10 is equivalent to UCF or Cincinnati to the Big 12. Should have happened. Didn't make sense. At the time, it was like, oh, this could work, and then it didn't. Do I think we'll get there? I sure hope not. Past that, TJ, you talk about life raft and will the Big 12 help? And is this if I told you, hey, you could buy stock in Apple today. You can buy 100 shares of stock. That's pretty darn expensive. But in 3 years, Apple's going to discontinue the iPhone. They'll still have the Apple Watch. They'll still have AirPods. They'll still have accessories here, but no more iPhone. Of course, you're not going to buy stock in Apple. You don't want to be associated with that right now, understanding that the biggest piece of their company is going to be null and void in a few years. On the contrary, you say, hey, what if in a couple years I can just buy the rights to the AirPods? What if I can buy I'm Microsoft, I have the wherewithal that I can buy the rights, buy the patent for the Apple Watch. That's much more business savvy than going hand in hand with Apple, and then the other company that's supposed to give 50-50 in this merger just drops its number one asset. In this case, again, Florida State, Clemson are your iPhone. And with those going away, how do you have any confidence to put your own personal money in Apple?
So, all of this considered, our takes, a merger would shock you. Like if you're Mark, who does seem to make the right decision more often than not, a merger at this point would shock you, I assume?
A merger will not happen. It wouldn't shock me. It won't shock me because it won't happen.
That's easier. That's easier than trying to run through what would happen. Yeah. But you heard it here today first.